All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Looks like we have quite a few people on today. It's more people are trickling in, but in the interest of everybody's time, we want to go ahead and get started. So today we are going to be having a conversation with our friends from Google and talking about the cookieless future and privacy and quite a few different items. So want to do some introductions first. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Chris Van Zandt. I am the Director of Sales here at AdCellerant. I am joined by my colleague, Nick Harper, who's our Director of Analytics. And then we're also joined by our friends and colleagues from Google, which is always a pleasure to have them. We have Aditi Sehgal and Justin Livingston, who are joining us today as well. So let's talk a little bit about what all we are going to review today. So today's agenda is going to include defining the cookieless future, or what the word cookieless means. It means a lot of things to a lot of people, so we want to make sure that we have a very specific definition as we go forward. We're going to talk about some privacy updates. We want to talk about the future of measurement in a changing ecosystem. And then we also want to give you some updates on GA4 and universal analytics. And then we also want to make sure that we're applying this to the local businesses that you are all out there talking to every single day. So really want to make sure that this is as user-friendly as possible. So let's define what cookieless means, or what a cookie is. Now, these aren't necessarily the ooey gooey chocolate chip cookies that we've all come to know and love. This is going to be a small line of code or file that's on a website that sends consumer device information and allows different companies to monitor, track, and target different consumers based off of their search history. So when we look at a company website, many instances, this could be your advertisers' websites. They will have a pop-up on the bottom of their site that says, we use cookies to improve the user experience and analyze web traffic. In many instances, you will have to accept that in order to move forward, or to get the best use out of that particular website. So I think many of us are up to date on how that works, but that will be going away in the near future. And we want to make sure that you're as up to speed on those changes as possible. With cookies, data providers assume a consumer is in market for something like running shoes. In this particular instance, somebody is going to be going to a website. They could go to Nike, they could go to Bob's shoe store in their local area, and that is collecting information. And we want to make sure that all these different data providers and collectors are getting up to speed, and that we're helping provide as much information to those different advertisers as possible. So somebody could be showing different instances of shopping for their shoes by going to a website. They could be doing searches, or they could actually go on site to a specific location. That is an instance where we collect something which is referred to as device identification. So we want to look at all of that information as we are starting to move into the near future. With first-party data, this is going to be extraordinarily important. The cookieless future will rely on these identifiers. So this first-party data is going to be critical. These identifiers aren't as comprehensive as a cookie, so that's something to take into consideration. We want to make sure that we were getting up to speed on that first-party data and the best ways to utilize it going forward. When we talk about the cookieless future, this has all been brought to the forefront because of many privacy concerns that are out in the market today. 86% of consumers have growing concerns about their data privacy, and 78% of those consumers have expressed concern about the amount of data that is collected about them on a daily basis. It is these issues that are taking and bringing this issue to the forefront and putting into place, the fact that we have to sunset that, or that data will be sunsetted. When we look at negative growth brands, for the most part, you'll see that high growth brands are the ones that are utilizing first-party data, while negative growth brands, around 40%, are the ones that have not utilized that data in the past. Data-driven decision-making is not a new trend for marketing and for businesses in general. First-party data in particular is something that marketers have been using to deliver smarter, more relevant marketing over time. Think about emails that you receive from your local businesses. This is something that we see on a daily basis, and something that we help advertisers out on a daily basis as well. If it's a holiday event, if it's new deals, or changing inventory in a store, this is all information that is utilized on a daily basis and something that we want to bring to the forefront. At this point, I want to turn it over to my friends over at Google, who are going to be jumping in to a lot more information here for you.
Thank you, Chris. Hi, everyone. Thank you for taking out the time and joining us today. I'm Aditi. I'm an agency partnership manager at Google and have been working with AdCellerant to unlock the next generation of opportunities and growth for them and their partners. Moving on. I've been in Google for 11 plus years. And the one thing I've learned from my experience in the marketing industry in all these years is that change is the only constant. And you have a chance to stand out only by adapting to that change early on. We saw that with automation a few years ago. I'm sure you all experienced it, you were a part of it. And now we are at that tipping point or change in the industry, if you want to call it, with respect to privacy and measurement. Justin and I are going to spend the next few minutes talking through the rapidly changing world of measurement and what that means for you. So previously, we lived in a world full of observable data, cookies, device identifiers, and as rising user expectations on privacy, it's resulted in a lot of restrictions on cookies, and that's changed the way the ecosystem measures conversions. So we are already in the new world of measurement. And in general, we are seeing the industry's ability to tie conversions to ad is really decreasing. I think we expect that cookies will continue to degrade and we will have to move to an aggregated measurement. So if you had to take away 3 things from this slide or top 3 takeaways, those would be 1, that audience measurement and marketing solutions which rely on third-party cookies may see reduced effectiveness in the form of smaller remarketing lists or limited match rates. So third-party cookie deprecation is real. Second, there is not going to be a silver bullet for measurement. And third, we will need to depend on a confluence of solutions and increased modeling, which is why we are here today. So to provide a better foundation for measurement in this new world, Google is essentially investing in 3 strategic pillars, which are preserve, inform, and secure. I'll go into what each of these mean. So preserve essentially as the pillar focuses on leveraging existing cookie-based infrastructure. And I know we've been talking about how cookies are going away, but for now, in the short term, this change is not happening overnight. So for now, take maximum use of these cookies that you have, depend on it in the short term, while meeting users' privacy requirements and abiding by regulatory guidance. So preserve that data that you have currently. Second is inform. With that, we've already discussed that a ceiling of observable data will continue to decrease. And we will have to augment gaps in data through modeling, for which we will need additional data, additional signals. And Google is continuing to build solutions to help with compliant exchange of these signals. And the third one here, which is secure, it essentially refers to new inventive solutions, most of which are either in earlier stages or ideation at this point. But basically, the most important part, they help provide more security and privacy to user data, which I'm sure you've heard in the news and seen around in the industry is the most important thing. And it's helping us reimagine a new privacy-enhancing measurement infrastructure. As we move towards a cookieless future, I think it's even more imperative that we continue to invest in first-party data. For those of you who may not know, first-party data is essentially information a company collects directly from its customer and owns it. So think about your emailing list, your mailing list, phone numbers, all those constitute as first-party data. And this comes with a number of benefits, which I think to your business can be your biggest appreciating asset. So if I were to think of the top 3 benefits of first-party data, I would list down 1. First-party data is highly accurate and of top-tier quality. So it gives you a solid foundation to base your measurement solutions. Second, first-party data is far more durable than your third-party data and leads to better customer insights. And that's because you've collected that data. And third, with your first-party data, you can deliver a more relevant and catered customer experience, again, because that's based on your customers, so you know who your customers are. I'm going to pass on the floor to Justin to talk through one of Google's solid solutions for a cookieless future. It's called enhanced conversions. I'm sure some of you have already heard about it. It's a relatively new measurement solution, and it's aimed to combat the degradation of cookies and increase visibility. For our partners who've already adopted it, we've seen about a 5 to 7% increase in conversions that were earlier not reported due to cookies being disabled. So I'll let you learn more about it. Over to you, Justin.
Awesome. Thank you, Aditi. Yeah, like everybody said, my name is Justin Livingston. I am a regional product lead at Google, specializing in measurement, specifically enhanced conversion. So I'm going to take a few minutes just to walk through some high level aspects of the product itself, as well as benefit to advertisers. So back one slide. So at a high level, the goal of enhanced conversions is really to increase the observability of campaign performance. So ultimately, that's going to improve the quality of conversion modeling and ultimately feed more data to your automated features. So think your smart bidding, think your automated campaigns, etc. This is really a solution aimed at the degradation of cookies, or how you would measure a conversion without a cookie. So let's get into a little bit more info exactly how that works. Let's peek under the hood a bit. So this slide basically breaks down two paths, the quote unquote normal and the browser impacted path. So where we were before and where we're going. In either case, we're really going to start with the click and the generated click ID that's appended to the URL. Under your normal path, the click ID is going to be appended to a cookie, which would then track a purchase on a website. And again, we're on the left side of the screen here. From there, the click ID is going to, the click ID from the conversion, is going to be matched with the click ID from the ad, and that conversion is going to be reported. An enhanced conversion is going to follow a slightly different path because we don't have all those signals. So once a user clicks an ad, the click ID is not going to be able to be appended to the cookie. So therefore, we can't use that as a method to match back a conversion and attribute a conversion appropriately. What enhanced conversions is going to do is capture a user-specific piece or pieces of information. So let's say an email address, mailing address, phone number, any combination of those, any combination of personal identifiable information or PII from the conversion page itself. From there, that data is going to be hashed and sent back to Google, where it's going to be matched against our signed-in user base. We go through a really robust hashing system similar to customer match. So Google's never going to see any unhashed data. We're never going to see your plain text data. Looking at a few initial numbers, our alpha test saw search clients gain a 5% increase in conversion rates. In YouTube, we saw an average of a 17% increase in conversion rates. So a substantial increase across all channels, even with cookies still in play across some browsers. Looking at our benefit to advertisers, one, like I mentioned, the goal here is really increase conversion, observability. So we're going to be recovering lost conversions as well as observing new ones from additional first-party data. That's going to lead to better reporting and better modeling, as our observed conversions allow these systems to be more accurate. Improved bidding and attribution is a big plus as well. Again, with the additional conversion volume, we're really able to feed those machine learning algorithms with more data, with better data, which is ultimately going to work to make those better. And then from a KPI perspective, we're looking at better performance, so higher conversion rates, better ROAS, better CPA, etc. Wanted to take a quick second to review a case study just showing the benefit of enhanced conversions to ASOS. So ASOS was trying to tackle the problem that we've been discussing over the past 20 minutes or so. Basically an evolving browser and privacy landscape, driving measurement blind spots in optimization and reporting, ultimately in performance. So by implementing enhanced conversions, ASOS saw an 8.6 increase in in search conversion rates and an outstanding 31% increase in YouTube conversion rates. That really established a foundation of measurement, ultimately driving stronger performance for the business. Just to close out, a few pre-implementation requirements. One is we really need site-wide tagging via the G tag or Google Tag Manager. So without one of these, we're not going to be able to enhance that conversion. Additionally, the conversion in question needs to be a Google hosted conversion. So we're not currently able to work with analytics conversions or floodlights. We do have solutions that are in alpha and beta tests for GA4 floodlights, but that is not rolled out generally yet. And then lastly, we have to have customer PAI on the thank you page, on the conversion page, either visibly or with a data layer on the page, or within a data layer on the page. And that's really so we have something to grab back and something to attribute to our signed in user base. So yeah, that's a quick overview of enhanced conversions. Feel free to throw any questions in the chat, or we can tackle those in the Q&A at the end. But for now, I will pass it over to Nick.
Yes, thank you, Justin. Hello, everyone. My name is Nick Harper. I'm the Director of Analytics at AdCellerant, and I do sit on an exercise ball. So if you see me bouncing around, that is no reason for alarm. But yeah, so I want to cover GA4. You know, on the heels of everything that we've been talking about here with the cookieless future and privacy, GA4 has been designed specifically with all of these topics in mind. So I think it's really going to help businesses navigate this changing world of marketing over the next few years here. Okay, so first, let's start with what is GA4? So it is the latest version of Google Analytics for measuring your website and app traffic. And over the years, Google has constantly been innovating and releasing updates to GA. That being said, GA4 is not merely tweaking around the edges. It really is an entirely new analytics experience with a redesigned UI and a fundamentally different data model underneath the hood. So the data that's collected is different, and the way that you view that data is different. So like I said, it really is a sea change in digital analytics here. Now, the legacy version of GA is called Universal Analytics, or UA. And as for privacy, while UA has evolved over time with the changing privacy landscape, GA4 was designed specifically for a privacy-first cookieless world. So for an analogy here, for any of my Batman fans out there, in The Dark Knight Rises, you know, when Bane tells Batman, you merely adopted the dark, I was born in it, molded by it. So that's basically GA4 talking to UA. UA adopted privacy while GA4 was born in it and designed for it. So that being said, the time to transition to GA4 is now. UA will sunset on July 1st, 2023. And I'll say that again because it's very important. UA will sunset on July 1st of next year, which is just 13 months from now. Now, while that may sound like quite a bit of time, you do not want to wait until that date to change over. Because if you do, you won't have any historical data to look at. So it really is critical to set up GA4 as soon as possible so that whenever you do start using the tool, you will have those historical comparisons to work from. All right, and next I want to briefly touch on some of the major differences between UA and GA4. So first, with user engagement, rather than focusing on concepts like sessions and page views, GA4 is entirely user-centric. It focuses on individual users and their behavior to give marketers a more complete view of the customer journey. As for data privacy, I already mentioned this, but GA4's data model is designed specifically for the cookieless future and protecting users' data. As cookies go away, first-party data and things like enhanced conversions that Justin covered are exactly how we're going to bridge that gap left by cookies. Machine learning is another major upgrade in GA4. It's at the core of the tool and informs everything from predictive audiences to modeled conversions and automated insights. So it's really woven into the entire experience of GA4. And last is event tracking. The process for tracking events and making changes is much simpler in GA4. It's a lot less reliance on Google Tag Manager and making edits to code, and it's all handled within the UI. All right, and then finally, I wanted to leave you all with some resources. There really is no shortage of information out there on GA4. Here are the links to Google's top resources. Got some overviews of the platform, instructions for implementing GA4, and so on. I think these will be a great place for you to start and help you get more familiar with the tool. But as a reminder, the time of transition is now, so I highly recommend getting started with these tools as soon as you can. And with that, I will pass it back to Chris.
Thanks, Nick. Thank you, guys. And just for everybody's knowledge, we will be sending this deck out afterwards. So you will have these resources and you'll be able to access all of this information. But what we do want to focus on now is what this is going to mean for local businesses, the people that you all work with on a daily basis. So preparing for the digital future is going to be critical. First-party cookies that track this basic information are not going anywhere. So you will still want to rely very heavily on that. Third-party cookie deprecation will happen at the end of 2023. So as Nick said about GA4, you want to be prepared. This is coming and there's no way around it. However, we do have some products and solutions that will still help us move forward. Many of the digital solutions like geofencing, native, streaming TV, streaming audio, social media, search engine optimization, and search engine marketing are still going to be available and are going to be tools that we will rely on heavily as we move forward. We see this challenge as an opportunity to come up with alternative solutions for identifying with the masses and for identifying with your client's customer base. We want to continue to provide you guys with updates. This is just the start of many training opportunities, in addition to other one-on-one individual meetings that we will have with you guys regarding privacy, GA4, and the cookieless future. So more to come from our team for sure. So we are going to have some additional resources here too. There was a white paper that was just released by our team, Peer into the Future of Privacy. This is something that I suggest you all read and take advantage of. Check your email after the webinar. We will make sure to send this out to everybody. But in this white paper, you are going to receive information on the definitions of cookies and cookieless, why you shouldn't be afraid of going cookieless, the Google Privacy Sandbox, first-party data, or the future of data collection, key data and stats that are inside this one paper. Products and solutions that do or don't rely on cookies, and what lies ahead for everybody. So we do have a quick quiz. Please look at the poll feature here. Want to ask everybody, when is Legacy GA going to be sunset? Critical piece of information that everybody needs to know. So please use the poll feature. I will launch that now, and let us know what you think. Again, very critical date for everybody. Looks like we have an almost unanimous decision, except for a couple. On January 1st is when third-party data will be deprecated. However, Universal Analytics will be sunset on July 1st, 2023. So we appreciate you guys participating. We'll make sure to follow up with all of you individually if we have some questions and things like that regarding this poll. But for now, we do want to open it up for some Q&A. Obviously, we have our friends and colleagues from Google, so we want to make sure that we're able to address any additional questions that you guys may have. Let's see, let's go to the QA feature and see what questions we have. So Ali Smith asked, how are enhanced conversions working when users are making purchases on a website other than the client's website, such as ticketing on a website? So I imagine you're talking about like an access ticket sales or something like that.
Yep, I imagine that would be for me. So enhanced conversions are going to operate on a Google hosted conversion on your site. So we have to be able to collect data at the point of conversion. If you're using like a Shopify or something like that, we have solutions for that. But if you're going to be linking, to a fully separate site, and let's say you pass back those conversions, we're not capable of implementing enhanced conversions on those at this time.
Thank you, Justin. Next question. With this cookieless change, how will the current Google Ads campaigns be affected? I mean, would impressions drop a lot or something similar? Justin, Aditi, any insights on how this would affect current SEM campaigns that are running?
Yeah, go ahead, Aditi.
No, go for it, Justin. I'll add on.
Yeah, I was just gonna say with this change, a lot of your front end metrics really should be okay, because those are things that we're capturing. What we're really trying to solve for is attribution of a conversion, and actually measuring that conversion. Again, what we're going to see, basically, if you weren't making these changes, we would anticipate seeing your conversions drop significantly as time goes by and cookies become less and less common. What we're really trying to aim to solve for is maintaining your attribution and actually seeing more conversions as we do have access to that first party data. So significant drops on the back end, yes.
Thank you. So next question, we actually had this one come up a couple times. So what does the cookieless feature mean for placing pixels on websites? So for retargeting purposes. I know that there's some additional changes that are going to come along there as well. Any additional insights, Nick, Justin, on how that might work as well?
I'm sorry, Chris. I think I was reading the questions in the feed. Could you repeat the question?
I was just asking about how this is going to affect pixel placement. So when we're placing a pixel for a display campaign or something like that, how is that going to affect our ability to retarget? Obviously, placing a pixel in that line of code will no longer be applicable here.
Yep. Yeah, that's a great point. So one thing that Google is working with here to combat that is in Google Analytics. So with the move to GA4, those are first-party cookies. And so when you have GA4 installed, the audiences that you can build within GA4 use first-party cookies. And then those, you can connect GA4 to Google Ads, and then those audiences that are created in GA4 can be used in Google Ads. So as far as, Google AdWords are concerned, that is one major step that's going to help here. Along with the other platforms, I'm not sure that we have clarity exactly on what that pixel landscape might look like. And I think that that's something that we hopefully will acquire more clarity on over the next year and a half here as cookies continue to deprecate.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, this is just the start of these training sessions. So we'll have more to come in the future, and hopefully we can get some more clarity on some of these questions. We had another great question here. And Nick, I think this is going to be directed at you. Do you have instructions on setting up GA4? Obviously, we'll pass along the information from this deck that will help you get started. I imagine that's the best resource we have right now, Nick, correct?
Yeah. Google has, complete instructions on all this. So that one slide that we sent or that I showed and that will be sent in the follow-up has all of the links to Google's specific instructions for setting up GA4. Yeah.
And on a similar note, the next question is there a way to transfer historic data from Universal Analytics to GA4?
Yep, that is a great question. There is not. And as far as I know, Google, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't believe there is an intention to do so. And that is exactly why, I'm trying to make it very urgent here to set up GA4 as soon as possible. Because, if you can set it up by July 1st, then when the transition happens next year on July 1st, you will have a full year of historical data. But as for the previous, however many years you have in UA, I don't believe there's any intention to allow the import into GA4. If your clients have a data warehouse or anything like that, for bigger clients that have those sorts of analytics resources, they certainly can have all of their GA data in one data warehouse to see over time. But in terms of importing it into GA4, I don't believe that's on the roadmap as far as I know.
Thanks, Nick. Let's see, our next question here is, what would be the top maybe 2 or 3 things to pass along to local or small business owners that don't have an internal marketing team? Number 1, would it be to convert their GA tags to GA4? But wondering if there is any other expectation setting we can be doing now for advertisers with little digital marketing or technical experience.
Yeah, I can take a stab. Oh, I'll take a stab first, hand it to you, Justin. I just wanted to say that the recommendation to convert to GA4 would be my first and foremost recommendation for those with limited technical experience. That is because GA is going to be completely gone in a year, UA that is, that really is the most important thing to acquiring that historical data starting now and then being set up for that transition in the future. So to me, that would be numbers 1, 2, and 3 where I'd focus resources. And I'll pass it to you, Justin.
Yeah, I was just going to say within the Google UI itself, would definitely recommend upgrading to enhanced conversions. I imagine that this type of advertiser is going to be leveraging conversion data within ads itself to power smart bidding. So to avoid any sort of decline in performance there, enhanced conversions is very much a set it up and then you will see you'll see the benefits. So would definitely look into exploring the implementation options that they have.
And to add to Justin here, so for enhanced conversions, actually GA4 also, but enhanced conversions, you do not need any additional marketing budgets. You just need to set it up, and we have a lot of guides, a lot of implementation resources. Your AdCellerant team is trained with it, so they can help you set it up. And after this call, we are going to also partner with the AdCellerant team and send a list of accounts or clients that are already eligible for it. So those who are eligible can already get started on the process. And for those who are not, you can reference to Justin's slide that he presented for all the requirements you need to get eligible. So you can start, acting on those, whether it's tagging your websites or getting things like those in order. You can get started with that.
Thank you very much. Appreciate the clarification. Let's see, next question. If a business website is not set up to collect or utilize first-party data, what can they do now to make changes so that they have proper ability to collect and utilize that data? My first recommendation would probably be setting up some sort of form fill so that they can collect at least email addresses, but I know there are other tools that they can utilize as well. Any additional insights, panel?
Agreed. I think let's set up something on the website to collect data. That is going to be the most important, asset that you use in the future, and not just for purposes to retarget people and stuff like that, but also again to set up a lot of these measurement solutions that are going to be based off that.
Thank you. Yes. Next question. So this one's on streaming TV. Will it be tied to content or geography? That's a good question. So obviously behavioral targeting will no longer be applicable here. So yes, we will still be able to target from a content and geographic standpoint. Good question. What AdSea products can we offer to help clients collect first-party data? We do have a slide about that earlier in the deck. I will refer you to that particular slide, and we can go through that in a little bit more detail in a one-on-one conversation. So I'll make note of this and we'll reach out to you directly. Let's see, next question. Do we know if we will still be able to see old UGA data when Google sunsets it, or will it be accessible, or will it be inaccessible entirely?
Yep, so I'll jump in here. So on July 1st of next year, Universal Analytics will stop collecting new data. So your old data will go through June 30th of last year. Now, at this point, Google states that all of the data that's within your Universal Analytics property will be available for at least 6 months. So they don't say when exactly it will be unavailable, but they say at least 6 months you can access it. And then they're strongly encouraging you to export all of that data. So, you know, in whatever format you can accept it, I would definitely recommend exporting that data in that time. But yes, I would not plan on having it much longer after, you know, December 31st of 2023.
Got it. Cool. Next up, will converting to GA4 affect their present campaigns? My understanding is that it should have little effect on the overall performance of a campaign. Is that accurate?
Yeah, so you know, I assume this question is speaking to, you know, when you have Google Analytics connected to Google Ads. And so that being the case, what Google recommends right now is that you set up your GA4 property and you collect traffic data in parallel. So you keep your Universal Analytics property untouched, so it continues to collect data, but you set up that GA4 property so it also starts collecting the data again, so that when you do fully transition to GA4, you have that historical data to look back on. So as long as you don't, you know, switch over your Google Ads connection to GA4, you should see zero change. Now, that all being said, you know, the recommendation with the dual tracking is that you look at Universal Analytics data next to GA4 and you make sure that, you know, overall the sessions and the users generally line up. And as long as that's the case, you know, then you can kind of feel confident in making that switch of connecting Google Ads to GA4 rather than UA. And at that time, I would not expect significant differences in your campaign performance.
Thank you, Nick. Let's see. Some of these I know we've answered a little bit, so I want to jump ahead to a couple that are a little bit more fresh here. How do we reassure our healthcare clients that GA4 will be HIPAA compliant? My understanding is that that should not affect HIPAA compliance in any way, shape, or form. We can certainly reach out to you individually on this one. We'll do a little bit more digging and get back to you. Let's see, with GA being a last click attribution measurement tool, will there be a way to have any view through tracking capability with display and or connected TV ads using GA4?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't believe we have an answer to this yet. You know, as I mentioned, we're still looking for solutions, and by we, I mean the industry as a whole is still working through potential solutions for things like attribution. Once those third-party cookies are deprecated, Google has an entire sandbox dedicated to this, where they're trialing different solutions for things like attribution measurement. So yeah, this is one of those things where I don't believe we have a solution as of today, but I expect that this will continue to evolve as that deprecation date gets closer.
Great, thank you. And again, more to come, everybody. Let's see, last one. Do we need to download GA reports before we switch over to GA4? I know we kind of touched on that, but we may just want to be very clear
here. Yeah, exactly. So you'll be able to log into Universal Analytics and see all of that data up until, you know, 6 months after that transition date. So again, that's going to be end of 2023. You will have access to Universal Analytics up until then. So I would certainly make sure that you export those reports prior to the end of 2023, so that you will make sure you have that data.
So thanks, Nick. And thanks everybody else. Really appreciate you guys joining us today. If there's any other questions, please make sure to reach out to your account manager, or you can reach out to myself. We'll certainly track down the information for you. But again, more to come from our end. We'll continue to keep you all as updated as we possibly can as we move into the new future. Thanks for joining us today, and we'll talk to you all soon.